Hey everybody, we're back. It's block 4 of the One Word Quilt Along, and after we've made this block, we're going to have the full northern hemisphere completed of this quilt. So we'll have almost half the globe done, which is pretty exciting. One thing I'm going to show you in this video is I'm going to sew that 4th block onto those other 3 blocks that I did in the last video so that you can see how all these quilted panels have come together, and we'll do the same for the ocean block and the same for the Antarctic block. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get back on the Quilt Fusion software and kind of show you a couple tips and tricks on customizing the fabrics so that you can kind of consolidate fabrics so you're not using 25 different fabrics after you've customized your block. So we'll go through a couple tips and tricks there. I'll make my block and sew it on there. So let's get on the computer first and fire up Quilt Fusion. Alright, I've got Quilt Fusion pulled up here. I'm going to head over to the Quilt Gallery, grab block number 4, and click Customize. The first thing I want to show you is creating a duplicate design. So let's say I want to save this version of block number 4, maybe just as a reference point or something like that, and I want to make a copy that I'm then going to modify. If I go ahead and save this, and then head back to my home screen, if I click and hold on this design, eventually it'll come up and ask me if I want to delete, duplicate, or cancel. And I'm going to go ahead and duplicate. Now I'm working on a duplicate copy of block number 4. Next thing I want to show you is this little information box in the bottom left-hand corner. It's going to tell you a number of things. As you modify your quilt, it will update this information. Obviously, the size is not going to change, but as we customize this, our number of fabrics is going to change. So currently, the original design has 14 different fabrics. That includes the border, the inner border, and all of the applique pieces in here. As I remove pieces, you'll see it's updating the number of fabrics that I'm using. Now, as I add stuff to the quilt, and in this case, I'm going to go a little bit off and kind of put some of these funky flowers that we recently added to the gallery here into this quilt and get rid of the giraffe. But as I add these new appliques in here, it's also going to add new fabrics. And now I'm up to 19 different fabrics, which isn't bad, but generally I try to keep things under 15 fabrics per a block. It just kind of makes it manageable, especially if I'm having to substitute fabrics or something like that. In fact, you know, a lot of times, ideally, I find the best designs are like 10 to 12 different fabrics. So one thing, I'm going to go ahead and set up my design here a little bit. Okay, now that I've got my imagery set up, I'm going to head to the Fabric tab. And there's a couple tools in here that'll help you kind of consolidate the fabric that you're using. Again, we've got 19 different fabrics in here. I'd kind of like to get that down to maybe 14, maybe 15 different fabrics. So the first thing I'll probably want to do is click on Palette. And what Palette is going to do is it's going to pull up all the fabrics into the library slider that I'm currently using in here. Okay, so every single fabric is going to be in here. If I want to reuse some of these fabrics, I have them available here. The other thing that I'm going to do is use this global tool. What global does is if I click on a fabric in the design, it will select all the other pieces that use that fabric so that I can change out those fabrics on a global level. So if I select all of this fabric here and I want to change it to, let's say, the same blue that's in the toucan up here, I can click it. And now you can see my number of fabrics has gone down to 18. Same with these green stems and leaves. If I select those, it's going to select both of them, and if it was anywhere else in the quilt, it'd select them. And I can maybe grab this one for the leaves. May or may not be the one I want to end up with. I may audition a couple different ones. This is the middle landscape fabric there, and that's looking pretty good. These yellow pieces, I'm going to go ahead and use the same yellow that's in the toucan. And incidentally, you'll notice there is another yellow fabric in here, which happens to be these leaf pieces. And I'm going to go ahead and make those this kind of greenish yellow as well. So now I'm down to 15 fabrics. I've still got these two in here, and I may add a new fabric in there. I'm thinking going more into the purples possibly. The next tool that I want to show you is this eyedropper tool. So currently I have all of these blue fabrics selected using the global tool. If I click the eyedropper and then I could click on any fabric, but I want to find a fabric that's similar to blue but maybe is more complementary to this fabric that I've chosen here. It'll select that fabric up here, but it also load up a bunch of similar fabrics that I can kind of go through this list and choose from to see if I like them. All right, fast forward here. Didn't want to bore you with my lack of indecision on where I was going with this, but it turns out what I decided to do was switch out that other flower and then consolidated those fabrics into here. So I've got 13 fabrics now. This is the pattern I'm going to go with, and I'm going to go ahead and click pattern. One world. This is block 4. And I am going to share it in the quilt gallery so that if anybody wants to mess around with this one and customize it, you're more than welcome. Click generate pattern. All right, and there I am. I'm going to go ahead and print this out. Again, just a reminder, when you go to print these out, make sure that fit to page is not checked. That way you can make sure that it's going to print out full size and all your pieces and templates will be the proper size. And you can double check that when you print out by measuring this little ruler on the left-hand side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and print that out and start making this quilt. All right, so I've got my customized block all made up. I have quilted it. I've got batting on the back. Again, no backing fabric. It's all quilted up. I've trimmed it to size. So in this particular case, it's 9.5 by 18.5. And as you can see, if I put it up against my other 3 blocks here, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to sew using a 1/4 inch seam down this side, and then I'll press this open and be done with this full-size block. So let me sew that together and I'll be right back. All right, so there we go. I got the whole 4 panels sewn together. Just wanted to point out, you'll notice there is not there's not any sashing on the right-hand side of this block. That sashing is going to be sewn on when we do the final outer borders. We're only going to do the sashing that goes in between the blocks. So that one doesn't have sashing, and this side doesn't have sashing. And we're good to go. We're ready for block 5. As usual, feel free to stop by the Facebook group, ask any questions, share your progress. And if you have any specific questions for me or want me to focus on something in a future video, feel free to ask. Send me an email at unclegravy@quiltfusion.com. Thanks for watching.